Everybody, what is happening? It is Tuesday night. It is playoff hockey time. A lot to talk about as far as the playoffs go, but first we're going to cover the Flyers. The offseason is upon us for the Philadelphia Flyers fan base. Talk a little bit, very early expectations for the Flyers. We're going to go back into the coaching conversation. There's a lot to talk about, a lot of candidates starting to come about who would be a good fit for Flyers. Talk about really early draft picks before we really start getting in to the draft in a couple months. We're also going to talk free agency as well. That opens up July 1st. We're going to see who should they possibly target. RFA, UFA, where should they be the most active? A lot to talk about tonight, folks. So hit that like, hit that subscribe. If you're on any of those platforms where you can share, hit that share button. Get your friends in the chat. Let's go. Time to talk some puck.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a brand new edition of Flyers Talk A2D right here on A2DRadio.com. I am Matt Sinsuti, along with the Darkwing, Brian Daly.
What's up, everybody? Playoff time. Let's get it.
Yeah, and Mr. Blue Shirt, Mr. Broadway, Mr. Switzerland, Big Bad Brad Ryer. And tonight we are brought to you by, as always, Specialized Physical Therapy. If you got any aches and pains, go hit up the doc, Dr. Paul Vidal, over at SpecializedPhysicalTherapy.com, and you will not regret that decision. All right, and the poll question for tonight is: the offseason will be a pivotal one for Danny Briere and the Philadelphia Flyers. Agree or disagree? Obviously, we know that the work is cut out for Danny. There's a lot of decisions to be made, especially come draft time. So, question is, gentlemen, do you think that this will make or break Danny's time as GM, as well as will this make or break possibly the rebuild for the Flyers?
Well, I'm definitely going to agree to the poll. I've been saying this the last couple of weeks. I think this was the perfect time to bring this poll question up because we're getting early into the offseason. I know we still have a few weeks left because we still have the playoffs just getting underway. I know Tampa and Florida are just getting under game 1 tonight. Everybody else is basically into game 2, heading into game 3.
Florida just scored, by the way.
Yeah, I don't understand how people think Florida's not going to win that series. But anyway, that's for later in the show. This is absolutely a pivotal. This is pivotal. This is a pivotal offseason for him. A lot of money to spend this offseason. You know, you have places. You have a lot of ways to go with this, and my big thing is, you know, this is going to be the offseason you want to add. That's what I want to see him do this offseason. Doesn't necessarily have to be in free agency. It could be via trade, which they have plenty of assets to do that. Go after some RFAs at some point this offseason. I'm not opposed to that either. Offer sheet some guys. You're going to have money. You know, it's not just necessarily even free agency money. You know, go after guys. You know, you want Trevor Zegras, go get Trevor Zegras. You got the spot for it. You got the space for it. Do it. You know, he's got to be active. He's got to show that now that they're, you know, in the position they're in. Obviously, you want to get the coach first. That's the priority this offseason, is getting your coach settled in, and then, you know, go from there. Got to make moves. This has got to be an active offseason for him. You got to improve from last year, and you got to do yourself a favor and take a step forward. That's key. That's key for me. So, agreed. This offseason, I don't think it's going to make or break the rebuild. Could it delay the rebuild? Possibly. But he's got to be active. If he wants to be back in the playoffs in the next year or two, which is possible with the way that they ended, they have to be active this offseason. They have to add.
Ottawa just scored.
About time. So was that 2-1 now?
Yes, 2-1 now, 4:18 second period. It is going to go to Brady Tkachuk.
Of course it is.
It was a weird goal, too. It wound up just being a broken play. A shot came in on Stolarz.
Did he actually knock it in with his foot?
Actually,
No.
I
That looked
don't.
like it went off of
I think it
Carlos.
went off of Carlos' skate. Yeah, it went off of the D-man Carlos' skate. So unfortunately, the Toronto D-man knocked it into his own net.
Yep.
Oh yeah, rough one for Carlo, but Toronto takes full advantage. I mean, Ottawa takes full advantage of that. It's 2-1. Anyway, as for my opinion on the poll here, I agree that this is a pivotal offseason for Danny. He's really got to make some good moves here, as in terms of drafting and in terms of making some smart decisions when it comes to the money and the contracts and what have you. There's a number of things that Danny's really going to have to. He can't settle for a triple. He can't. He's got to hit a home run. He's got to hit a decent amount of them in this particular offseason, because the Flyers, yes, they are a rebuilding team, but you want to make sure that you have the pieces in place to continue building in the right direction. And even though he did have the finger on the pulse of the team saying that they would take a step back this year, this is the year where he really wants to, you want to solidify a really good coach. You want to solidify a lot of very solid playing habits and attributes for the young guys to continue to pick up on. You want to see very good progress from those young guys, and you want to draft very well, and you want to see some young talent possibly step up here and maybe make their debuts on the team next year. And then on top of it, you want to see how the veteran talent is going to help add possible depth or add possible ability to mentor and teach. There are a number of things that Danny's going to have to take a look at here, and he's going to have to spend the money wisely, and he's going to have to draft wisely here. So yeah, this is a very pivotal season. This is not one of, it wasn't like last year. Last year he was kind of handicapped. He was a little handcuffed because money wasn't necessarily available. There was also questions on what their draft choices were, considering that the draft wasn't considered that deep. So there was a number of things that you had to contend with last year. This year, not so much. So yeah, this is a pivotal one for Danny.
No, for sure. And you said something that I think is a very good point. Not only do you have to obviously draft wisely and hope these guys develop into players, but if you're adding guys from the outside and you're going to go after an RFA or a free agent, whatever, what have you, you have to be smart about it for sure. You don't want to just throw money at a guy if he doesn't fit. You know, there's going to be a lot of talks about Cam York, who's an RFA. There's going to be a lot of talk about Tyson Forrester. What are you throwing at him? What's the contract going to look like? There's going to be a lot of those questions. You have to ask those same questions to the UFAs if you decide to offer to any, which to me, this UFA pool is trash. There's not a lot going on. All the good players that were somewhat intriguing are all gone. It's also very heavy winger. So if I'm the Flyers, I'm passing on this UFA class. I'm going to look further into the RFA class because there's a bunch of them out there. And then I'm going to wait for the UFAs in 2026 because that UFA class is absolutely stacked. And by that point, the Flyers are going to have a very good idea of who Tyson Forrester is going to be in the NHL, who Cam York is going to be, on all these other young cats that are going to get an opportunity this year. I mean, Emil Andre is going to have a full year under his belt, so you're going to have an idea of what he's going to look like as a full-time defenseman. So there's so much to think about with this offseason, and this is why I don't think it's going to make or break, but it is pivotal because like I said, the UFA class in 2026 is so much better. So you have to look into the UFAs next year, focus on the RFAs this year, and you got the draft capital to make it work.
Yeah, you do. What's up, Swoopy?
Hey, Swoopy.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a challenging but a pivotal offseason for Danny. So, Brad, from the outside looking in, obviously we all know it's going to be pivotal offseason for the Rangers, but
Well,
from
they're kind of both in the same boat, except the Rangers need wingers and the Flyers need a center. So it's a little, we look at it a little bit differently than you guys do. Because we need a couple of wingers. Our centers are fine. I don't think that's the problem. So
Brad sticks out like a sore thumb now.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Now,
about
okay,
that.
so it's not completely bald. I have a braid that I got going on back here.
Oh, that's
There you
right.
go.
You did say that.
Yes, so
No,
I'm
I
not
remember that.
completely bald. Anyway, but you're
Yeah,
right,
but
Brad. Yeah.
no, you know what? As far as the Flyers are concerned, and Brian made a really good point. Uh, you just because you have the money to spend doesn't necessarily mean you should spend it and spend it on the wrong guy. Uh, the Flyers know what they need. Okay, I think we've stated it a million times ad nauseum. We all know what they need, but they got to play it. They got to play it smart here. Don't just throw money at somebody just because they're a good player,
You're
right?
right.
I'm sorry, Brad.
That was
I'm
funny.
laughing at Joe's comment because I
It
didn't
was
see it at
priceless.
first, but now I can totally see it. What's up, Joe?
It's okay. It's
Oh
okay.
my gosh, that's funny.
But no, you know what though? Seriously though, they have to be smart about who they go out and sign. Okay, they need to bring in a core player, a leader, if you will, a guy that they can rely on to score in a big spot. And this is if they could find somebody of that ilk in free agency, that's fine. But don't just go throwing money like at Brock Besser or some of these other guys. And I use Brock Besser as an example because he's like a 50-point player. He's a pretty good player, and he might fit well for my team, but I don't think he fits well in your team. And there are certain guys like that. I mean, Mitch Marner is probably out of the question right now for them. So at this point, they got to be smart. I think if they spend their money wisely, don't if there's nothing there, don't force a move. Danny does not have to force himself to get somebody just because the fans are putting pressure on him. Whoa, you got to do something. He shouldn't kick the can down the road, but he doesn't have to spend the money that fast. Okay, he can wait. He can make a trade. He can play it smart. He can do stuff like for example, uh, what the Blues did with Kevin Hayes. Okay, the Blues wanted a third line center. Okay, and they got Kevin Hayes basically for free. They just had to take the money. That's the kind of thing the Flyers may look to do. Somebody who's trying to get rid of a contract, but would really be beneficial for the Flyers. That's where I think they have to look at because the center position in free agency this year is not strong. And if the best center is a 34-year-old ex-Islander, I think I might want to pass there. I don't know. Brock Nelson is not the guy that's gonna change things for you. Okay, you also have what? How many first round picks do you have this year? Three.
Three.
Yeah.
Possibly two, depending on where Edmonton finishes.
Okay, so you've got all these first round picks. Okay, if the right center is available, you could spend one of those. Just again, it doesn't have to be a free agent. And remember, free agents are going to be extremely expensive. You know how it got. You know how crazy it gets. You don't want to overpay because that's where the last leadership gang went wrong. Was that they brought in some guys, but they spent way too much money on them, and they have to make sure. Danny has to make sure he doesn't do that again. And if the deal's not there, don't force it because that's where you get in trouble.
Right. No, you're right. I mean, it's the challenge of, being cautious and knowing, obviously the market is going to dictate everything when it comes to how the whole process works in the free agency, like it does every year. And the
You also
question.
attack. I'm sorry, Matty. I don't mean to interrupt, but
Yeah.
you also if you see a team signing a free agent and you see that they have unrestricted free agents and they don't have the money to pick up one of those unrestricted agents, that's where the snake has to strike.
Yes, you definitely can look in on that.
Yeah.
Again, though, it all depends on who makes a big move. Like, what's the big move going to look like? Because someone's going to do a big move of some kind in the free agency. And when they do, that's going to set everything up for, okay, so this is how they're going to have to play it this year. So, and the smart thing Danny would do is wait. Wait until that big move happens before actually looking into it. Because obviously, the big thing that you have available is on trade. You can trade one of those first round picks.
Mhm.
You may be able to take a look and see what you have that you can move on from. But also, on top of that, as well, after you've done all those moves, then you can wait and say, okay, let's take a good look at the books. Let's take a look at the contracts. And then on top of it as well, let's wait and see what the market's going to look like this year. If the market's going to look like crap, or it's going to be looking like everyone's going to pay too much, then we need to back out of it and we need to be careful about how we handle these things.
Well, you bring up a very good point there, Maddie, because you know what? This is another reason why I'm saying back off the UFA. And I agree with Joe. Like, Sam Bennett's probably going to be the only one worthwhile, but he's also going to cost a fortune. You don't want to be in that situation because you are going to wind up overpaying. Sam Bennett's going to be one of those guys that's going to set the market, and once that happens, I mean, the tiers are going to fall, but it's honestly, you're going to wind up overpaying for somebody at some point. I'd rather it be next year because, like I said, there's going to be much more talented guys. It's going to be a much deeper class. And like I said, you're going to know more about the identity of this team going into the 2027 season. Oh, God, it feels so weird saying that because it's
the only problem is you don't know. A lot of these guys that are right now could be UFAs. They could sign extensions because that's kind of what happened this past season. There were some players, some nice players available who ended up getting extended. So that, I mean, you have to be careful of that and remember none of that is guaranteed. So just don't. You don't want to. What you want to do is you want to capitalize on a team making a foolish move. You don't want to be the one to make the foolish move.
You definitely don't. Joe's saying that Sam Bennett is the only worthwhile UFA to bring in
this season. Absolutely.
Oh, I would agree with that. Besser wouldn't be a bad player either, but I don't know that guy fits, and I don't know if Sam Bennett fits the Flyers right now.
Those two guys they're gonna be in that $8 to $10 million a year range. That's good.
Yeah, if they're going to be 10,
it's not that it's out of the realm of possibility for the Flyers to do because they have the money to spend. These are two guys that, I mean, do you really need a Sam Bennett right now? Brock Besser's a winger, so he's going to play on the left side, which he can do. Is he going to be worth? Because he's going to want a term contract as well.
If you're going to want a guy like that, like Besser, okay. I mean, I'm not spending more than $7 million a year for him. Okay, he's a 50-point player.
But again, it's going to come to guys like Sam Bennett setting the market, and he's going to want it. He can get that from Vancouver, and he turned it down. Yeah,
no, that's a possibility. You guys know I like Ehlers. I didn't know who mentioned that.
Don's here,
brother. Where you been? Glad to see you're still alive, there, bud.
Like Ehlers, man. He would fit any team because of his speed.
Yeah, Prism wants him on Chicago.
Yeah, again, he makes sense for a Chicago type team because they need everything. They need to give Bedard somebody to play with. Right now, bringing in a winger like Ehlers just does not make sense for the Flyers. This is why bringing in Besser doesn't really make sense, but I could see if you can get him on the left side. But, and again, Sam Bennett's just going to be way too expensive. He's going to get close to 10. It's the things. It's not necessarily the talent.
That would be
positions this year. That's my issue.
That would be insanity to pay him that much money, though.
Oh, he's going to get it.
Oh no, I agree with you, but it's just to me he's he's a nice player. Okay, he's not a superstar, and you're going to pay $10 million for him. That's almost as bad as that would be to me as dumb as paying Kevin Hayes $7 million a year. Like
Not
the
really,
Flyers did a few
because
years
he can
ago.
do everything.
Right
And it's
now,
what the market with where the market's going as far as just a salary cap, guys are going to start making more money.
Oh,
So it's not going to be that outlandish to see a guy like Sam Bennett who's coming off of 50-goal year 2 years ago. He's
Sam Bennett scored 50 goals.
oh,
year, like the last year, wasn't it?
Florida just scored. It is 2-1.
Or am I thinking Sam Reinhart? I'm
I
thinking
think
of
you're
Sam
thinking of
Reinhart.
Sam Reinhart.
Speaking of that, Reinhardt did just score.
Yeah, Sam Reinhart is great.
Yeah, I always get those two mixed up when it comes to their stats. Yeah, I'm thinking of Reinhardt. He had 25 this year and 20 last year. So maybe he's not going to set the market as much as I thought he was.
Yeah, no. Listen. He's a real nice player, but I mean, if somebody's wants to pay him $10 million, it better not be my team. That's way too much for him. I mean, to me, he's a $6 to $7 million player. But you know what? You want to pay more for him, then that's fine. But again, there's, the team that goes and pays for him. That then you got to look at their restricted free agents and see if they may have blown their whole wad on that particular guy, and see who they got and see if you can take advantage of a situation.
Yeah, I definitely got those two backwards. I mean, Sam Bennett, you're probably going to look at 6.5, 7, 7.5. You could possibly fall into the 8, 8.5 category with where things are going for the cap right now. But I mean, Sam Bennett, he'll get paid. He'll get paid.
Oh, I agree. I'm just saying, but what he gets paid isn't necessarily what the Flyers should pay him.
No, I agree. That's why I don't think anybody in the free agency this year.
The Flyers would be out of their minds to do that. Not for him.
Pay next year when you have a guy like McDavid on free agency. Because if they're out in the first round, I guarantee you McDavid's not resigning.
Okay.
Well,
true.
Chrome was saying, "What up, fellas? Agree to the poll. They took steps backwards this year. I think the head coaching hire and some personnel decisions will be key."
Agreed, Chrome. It's good to hear from you, bud.
Let's see what else. There was Joe said earlier, bring in a 37-year-old Marchand to play on the same line as TK. That would be a horrible move, but would be hilarious to see them play together. You imagine Marchand would be the biggest pest in the world, and he would just teach TK everything. It'd be like, good Lord, he just basically handed the torch off to TK to become the biggest asshole in the league.
I would be
having Matthew Tkachuk and Brad Marchand on the same line is just.
You know what? I'm going to go out on a limb and say if Florida winds up winning the Stanley Cup, which I don't think they do, if they wind up winning the Stanley Cup this year again and go back to back, I would either see Brad Marchand re-signing with Florida, or I think he retires. Go out on top. I mean, how much longer can he play with the style that he plays? He's 37 now.
He doesn't. I don't really recall him having that much of a bad injury history, though.
It's not injury history. It's kind of like what happened with Wayne Simmons. You play that rough, gritty game, your body just breaks down.
That's true. It did. It did eventually. His decline in play was pretty obvious there towards the end. Especially when his last year with Philly, it was like, yeah, his prime is past.
Yeah.
So when he went to, I think, Nashville, it was time to move on.
Yeah, he's definitely going to be an intriguing story this offseason for the NHL. It's just kind of what happens with Brad Marchand, but that'll be fun.
Joe's saying they should have let Torts finish the year, or we would have lost out. That fired coach boost cost us draft position or two.
That's with fourth, but it doesn't matter because you got the draft lottery. So wherever they finish, it doesn't really matter. They may not even draft fourth. They could be fourth and they could drop to eighth,
or they could go to second. You never know.
That's true.
But like everybody keeps thinking draft position. With the draft lottery, it doesn't matter.
Let's see here. If San Jose is willing to trade the potential number 1 pick, then they're trying to compete sooner than later.
I don't think they're doing that.
No, I think they will. Especially since Mike Grier's already come out and said if we get the number 1, we would consider shopping it.
Now, my
They
question.
shop it, but who are they? It depends on. Again, it depends on who's on the market.
Well, hold on a second. What about Marco Rossi?
Could be.
I mean, think about that. You give the number 1 draft pick to Minnesota, they would hand you Marco Rossi easy.
Yeah, I mean it's gonna cost a fortune,
right?
But if they land a number 1 overall pick, I think
the
the best thing for them to do is to trade it because you can get a lot of assets in return.
That's what I'm saying. Like
you can
like
get
just
NHL ready players, and you can get later draft picks for that.
Right, like what I'm saying, San Jose has the ability to milk anybody if they really, if they want to. I mean, with Toronto, depending upon how they finish, maybe they want to go get Mitch Marner.
Maybe, but Mitch Marner's for free agency, so they can get him.
I mean, true. Point being is that the option. Yeah, but my point is the options are there. The options are there for San Jose. They can play with what they want to play with if they want to use that number 1 as a stepping stone.
But didn't they say that teams can't get it more than they can't get the number 1 overall back-to-back years? Isn't that like a rule stated because one of the other teams did it and nobody liked that happened?
What, when Edmonton was always getting the number 1 pick?
Yeah, wasn't that one of the stipulations?
Yeah, it really
you can't have the number 1 back-to-back years.
I don't recall if that was an actual. Hold on, let me see. NHL.
While you do that, Raska, you're smoking crack again, brother. Peter Lavi let the Anaheim stop it. Stop it, smoking crack again, there, bro. Let me get some of that.
Let's see. The NHL implemented a rule change starting in 2022 draft lottery, limiting how many times a team can win the lottery and move up in the draft order. Specifically, a team can't move up through a lottery when more than twice in a 5-year period.
Okay. So I wasn't exactly wrong, but I was wrong.
Still, though, they did implement.
I was still wrong.
By the way, did you guys hear Lou Lamoriello was gone
from the Islanders?
Yeah. Good. Best thing that organization could have done. Swoop. Problem with that is a lot of teams are not willing to give up the 23 to 25-year-old guys that are NHL ready unless you're going to sell the farm. Most of those teams, they're not going to give up on a lot of those guys. Because they, like the Flyers, they want to develop talent too. You don't really see guys like that moving unless it's a wow move. Say like TK gets traded or Michkov gets traded. You're not going to see any of those other guys get moved. I agree. They need a guy to pair with Michkov, but I don't think you're going to get that via trade. You're going to have to. It's going to be a Jetlachenko or somebody like that. They're going to have to develop a guy. Because it's really tough to move, like unless they can get an RFA offer sheet and get one of those guys that way. I don't see teams trading a Marco Rossi unless they're wowed. I don't see Anaheim trading Mason McTavish unless they're wowed. Because these players are highly valued for teams like Minnesota, who's just starting to get back into playoff mode. Anaheim is just starting to get back into playoff mode. San Jose, like Will Smith, Macklin Celebrini, those guys are William Eklund. They're not going anywhere. Those are cornerstone pieces, most of those guys. So you just got to keep that in mind. But I agree with you. You got to get somebody to play with Michkov. You do. Yes, Prez. Zegers over McTavish every day of the week.
And let's see. Prism saying 3 years too late for Lou, but better late than never.
Agreed.
Joe saying chance at number 1 overall, 32nd, 26%, 31st, 14, 30th, 12, and 29th, 10%.
What's that for the later picks?
I believe so. Yeah. for the for 32nd, 31st, 30th, and 29th.
Okay, that hurts my brain just looking at that. Just because I don't like numbers, they don't get along with me.
So, as of now, we are in intermission between the Panthers and the Lightning after the Sam Reinhart goal that made it a 2-1 hockey game. And just flipping back over to Ottawa and Toronto, they just started the third period. So, with that, gentlemen, as we continue to work our way towards the offseason for everybody, the offseason currently for the Flyers, a lot to talk about. There's still plenty to discuss, and there'll be more to discuss as we go further down the line. Super saying, who's that player the Canucks had
Strong
from
disagree.
went to the Oilers? Flyers should have traded for him last offseason.
Paul Colson? No.
Ah.
He's been a bust ever since he's come over. He's not that good. I don't even think he's on the Oilers main roster.
For saying, waiting for the Leafs fans to chant, "We won Florida or Tampa."
That's going to be it's going to be Florida, in my opinion. But Florida's just
time. First of all, let's not just assume Toronto's winning this series. I know from the way that it's been going. Hear me out. I know from the way it's been going, Toronto is looking like they got this one in the bag. But this is Toronto. Let's keep this in mind. The Leafs have a terrible habit of screwing up surefire things. They do it all the time.
Leafs team.
Different Leafs team, okay, but
different leadership.
Better defensively.
Better goaltending.
Okay.
Better special teams. This is Ottawa's first time in the playoffs in 9 years?
I get that, but listen, let's also keep this in mind
They also look like a very immature team the first game.
That is true. You are correct on that. They were very undisciplined in game one. I agree with that 110%. But I'm just saying, this is Toronto. My faith in Toronto and their playoff performance is not high.
I have no faith in Ottawa. I have no faith in Ottawa. Listen, I love G, and I would love to see him get a ring before he retires. It would make my life that much better because I'm a big Giroux fan. I will defend him at all costs. But let's be real. Ottawa ain't got it. Not yet.
Well,
they need a little. I don't believe in playoff experience, but I think they drew a very terrible team. They got a very bad matchup in the first round here. I don't think that. I just don't think Ottawa's as good as Toronto is right now. I just don't. We'll get there, but
they definitely aren't. But I again, it's like
they don't have the firepower, and their defense is just not good enough to stop them. And if every time they commit a penalty, they're going to be in serious trouble because Toronto is going to light them up on the power play.
Well, I don't necessarily think that's the case, though, Brett. I think what you said before was a little more nail on the head. Immaturity factor. They're playing undisciplined. They're letting their emotions get the better of them. I think that's going to be more of what's going to wind up hurting them in the long run than what their roster looks like right now.
Right.
Because they played really strong hockey down the stretch here to get where they are.
Oh, yeah. And tonight, I'll tell you what, they have completely dominated this game.
I can't see. My TV's way over there, and I'm way over here.
They before I walked in here, they were out shooting. When they scored, I think they were out shooting them like 12-2 or 13-2 or something like that in the second period. And they've had the better of play the whole game, but the difference is the goaltender.
Well, I mean, at the same time, they're actually pausing the game right now. They're checking to see if there's a major penalty coming up. Wild stick caught someone in the face. Ooh, it was nasty too. Follow through.
Do you guys see that cheap shot Burns laid on a guy in the Devils? I don't remember who it was, but the headbutt, and then they didn't even call a penalty on it.
Did not see that.
Awful. Burns has always been a chippy player. That's just
round tugging that Jason Spetzel, and then Albertson ain't coming through the tunnel. That's true.
No.
What's Ottawa's big problem in the playoffs? Well, I mean, the big problem is they're inexperienced, but the other problem too is also the history of the Battle of Ontario is extremely one-sided. Toronto always seems to have Ottawa's number.
What's up, Mike?
Yeah, what's going on, brother? And let's see. Pris saying, how about the Stars keeping hope? Game 3 is going to be emotionally charged with Gabe returning. Absolutely. What a game that was last night. Dallas just pulling through. They needed to win. They needed to win that game.
They lost that game. They'd be dead.
They did lose the first 2 games at home last year and then came back and won that series in the first round. But the odds of you doing that again, you lose both games at home and then you have to come all the way back to win it, that is very unlikely. They had to win that game.
Colorado is
what's up?
Colorado's got a hell of a team. I mean, they're a lot better. They are really good this year. They've got a lot of talent. I don't like their goaltending, but they got a lot of talent.
They're gonna they're too good. They're too good. And they're deep. They got better getting Brock Nelson. They got Charlie Coyle. And now, like Pris just said,
Nate just too.
You're getting your captain back.
Yeah.
After almost 3 years?
Yeah. 3 years.
That's going to be one. I'm not expecting too much out of him. If he gets a point, cool. But I'm not expecting much out of him for the first couple games.
Yeah, but the emotional lift.
Right. Exactly.
I mean, they'll have a lift anyway coming home, but just to have him in there, they're going to come out flying.
Mike's saying everyone's sleeping on the Kings in the playoffs. I mean, the Kings had a great game. At the end of the day, it's one game. We'll see if Edmonton's got a response to it.
It's another young team.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I like their leadership better than I do like Ottawa's. But I think the Kings beat Edmonton. I do, but I don't think they get out of the second round.
If the Kings, I think that would be their Stanley Cup. If the Kings beat the Oilers, that's their big accomplishment because the Oilers have beaten them the last 3 years in a row. Mm-hmm. So if they were able to beat Edmonton, I think that would be the big thing they achieve, and then they're out in the next round at the end of the day. So I would agree with you on that one, Bri. If the Kings wind up walking away with that series victory. Joe saying, a surprise to no one, the Phillies suck.
It's April, Joe. You know better than anybody not to count a team in or out in April.
And then Mike saying, was great to see the Devils stink it up against Carolina. Well, the Devils being handicapped definitely doesn't help their chances against Carolina without Jack Hughes, without Dougie Hamilton. And then,
Luke, no, they have Dougie Hamilton, but they don't have Luke. Luke
Hughes, that's right, Luke Hughes. My bad.
Dylan, what the hell's his name? Dylan, whatever his name is, on the Devils is hurt. Got hurt in game 1.
Oh, yeah, I did hear that.
What's his name? Yeah, you're right. I remember seeing him go down too.
Yeah.
Was it Dylan?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm blanking on who it is, but yeah, I saw all that earlier.
I can't remember his first name or last name, but Dylan got hurt too. That's a tough loss for them. But not having the Hughes brothers right now, that's too much to ask.
I mean, Luke, you're not missing much with Luke, but missing Jack's offense is.
Jack's one of the great players in the league. I mean, Luke is a pretty good offensive defenseman. I mean, their power play has been pretty much ineffective against Carolina. Well, everybody's power play seems to be ineffective against that team, but you know what I mean.
Luke has done nothing to impress me since he's been up here.
I will say though,
he's definitely the worst of the three.
I will say though,
that would be true.
Watching the Devils right now struggle is a nice thing to watch. I can agree with you on that one.
Yeah, as a Ranger fan, just to poke a little fun at them, we beat Carolina twice. How many times have you beat them?
Right.
As a matter of fact, how many games have you won against them?
And as a Flyers fan, it is nice to see them suffer in the playoffs. It's nice. It's like you made the playoffs, and now you're getting your ass kicked. It's a lovely thing to see.
Yeah, I hear in Foresgate they got the motors running on all the golf carts for the Devils.
Oh, already okay.
Yeah, Foresgate Country Club, in Jamesburg.
Chris saying Mira will be back in Game 4 for the Stars.
That'll be massive for them.
Mike is saying this is also Flowers' last go-around in the playoffs.
Aha, I knew I had it somewhere. Sorry.
Mike is saying Winnipeg will break the curse. That stadium is going to be loud. Kings over the Vegas Golden Knights. Okay.
Oh, come on, Priz.
Kings 3-1 versus Vegas this year.
Don't you?
That's the regular season.
With the guys that know better, you know better. Who cares what they did in the regular season? It's the regular season.
I mean, look at it this way: Ottawa won the entire regular season series against Toronto, and look at what's going on right now.
Come on, we know better than this. You make me sound like Tommy.
It's true, actually. You were channeling your inner Tommy right there.
I was channeling my inner Tom Arno in there. Come on, boys. We're better than this.
Washington looking dangerous in the playoffs, too. I would say this. They looked a little shaky against Montreal, especially in that third period.
I give Montreal credit. They were fighting. Montreal came out and they were doing everything they could to try and compete with Washington. Washington definitely did have the edge, but at the same time,
not in the third period, they didn't, though.
Not in the third period, yeah. So,
boy, oh boy, I'll tell you what, that XJ guy, that goon defenseman that they have, he's definitely keeping Tom Wilson honest. That's for sure.
Right.
Fair enough, there, Prez. Fair enough.
Prez say he's got the investment in the Kings rookie card. That's a very understandable reason why you want the Kings to win now. He says, "I need my Kempies to take another leap."
Well, I mean, I got all my cards sitting right here, so I mean, like,
but you know, I will say, if not Ottawa, maybe it's Montreal. I mean, think about it. You get that one wild card team. It's the first time they've been in the playoffs in a while. They're playing with house money. They're dangerous when you play with house money. Montreal's happy to be here. You know, they had an amazing run this year to get them in here. And at the end of the day, it's like, we're playing with house money.
Yeah.
So that makes them dangerous against Washington.
It's almost impossible, though. And the reason it's almost impossible is because Washington is just too big, too strong, and they hit them like there was no tomorrow in game one. And they're going to keep doing that, and they're going to wear them down. By game 4, game 5, you're going to see the results.
Did anybody hear that post-game interview with Emily Kaplan with Cole Caulfield?
I did not, actually.
No.
What relevance was asking Cole Caulfield? Well, how does it feel to get hit by Alexander Ovechkin? How do you think it's going to feel?
Oh, it probably hurts.
What?
It doesn't like
wait. Was
getting
that
hit by anybody in the NHL is not going to feel good.
Wait, was that?
I get hit playing pickup hockey, and it doesn't feel good. I got a bruise on my hip right now because of it. Like it doesn't matter. Anytime you get hit in hockey, it's not going to feel good.
Why would
listen, I used to play street hockey all the time, and you know what? When I snuck in front of the net and I got cross-checked in the back all the time, it doesn't feel good. You know, when I started working, I was like, you know what? I'm not going to do this anymore because, like, you know, coming to work and having your back killing you is not a good feeling.
I'm just going to say right now, I don't understand why they figured that question would be why would you even ask a stupid question like that?
It's
like
he's thrown over 4,000. He's thrown over 4,000 hits.
Right. I mean, Ovechkin has always been a guy who's not afraid to throw the body around since day one when he came into the league.
Ovechkin is the guy that Lindros should have become. Let's be honest.
Yeah. Again,
extent, yes, I agree.
Yeah, you know, a guy that scores a zillion goals, and if you don't like it, he'll beat the crap out of you.
I mean, well, what ultimately killed Lindros's career was that rules for head hits were a lot looser, so that ultimately crushed his career in the long run. Ovi came in luckily in a period where that was being taken out of the game, where you started seeing those hits less frequently. So
it saved Crosby's career because they were going after him, and he was getting headshots and getting hurt all the time.
Well, they had the infamous one in the Winter Classic, and that almost ended him right then and there.
Yeah. So that was kind of why they finally just said, "All right, you know what? We can't have that." Just can't.
So,
Well, I think that he started to figure out, like, through like guys like Dan Carcillo, Riley Cote,
Mhm.
the importance of CTE and keeping your brain
Right.
healthy.
right.
So I think that's when they really started, because they started seeing these guys getting messed up.
right.
You know, and we see it in football too. Like it's not a thing to take lightly, and a lot of leagues up until recently, and we're learning more and more about what concussions do to your brain. That you know, you got to protect it.
Right.
You got to protect it.
You do.
Absolutely.
You do. And let's see here. Joe's saying, I'm so disconnected with Western Conference hockey, especially with the Flyers not being good. I never heard of Kyle Connor before last night, and the dude was scored 30 to 45 goals every year for the last 7 years. Shame on me. Kyle Connor is one of the best players in the league.
And he can fire that puck, man. Ooh.
And Winnipeg would be in such a bad place without him.
Yeah, they don't have Ehlers right now. I think he's week to week, right?
Why does running backs matter?
I don't know.
This is a hockey show, sir.
And Michael Hayes, Mike saying, Montreal versus Toronto Eastern Conference Finals. Imagine. I don't know if Garrett
Ain't
Bettman will
happening,
be able to
bruh.
handle that, but you know,
Montreal, you're dreaming if you think they're going to get past Washington.
Listen, I can respect Montembeault and everything that he's done this year. He is not Carey Price. He's not carrying them to a Stanley Cup final.
Can they win a game? Can they win a game or two? Maybe.
Sure. But no, Montembeault is not going to take them to the Stanley Cup Finals like Carey Price did in 2021 when they really should not have been there.
I mean, the Eastern Conference path is not easy for a team like Montreal. We've seen crazy shit happen all the time in the NHL. Crazier shit has happened. But Montreal still has a little ways to go before becoming a legit cup contender.
Right. Joe's saying, I won't take the Lindros slander. He was well on his way to being a top 10 player of all time. Injuries
I'm not slandering him.
Not his fault.
I'm not slandering him. I'm just saying
You did it.
I'm just saying what he should have become.
I mean, the injuries are what ultimately derailed Lindros's ascendancy to a higher plane, unfortunately. But in the short time that he was playing at the top of his game, look at the impact that he made. It just goes to show that if
he was a great player,
if he had come around in this era with the more protection for the head hits, he would have had a full career and he would have played phenomenal for pretty much most of it.
Agreed.
It just, unfortunately, in the era he played, there were guys out there who headhunted, and unfortunately, one of those guys played in the New Jersey Devils, unfortunately. So that is what sadly derailed him. Let's see.
And that guy hurt a lot of people, by the way.
He did. He hurt several people. Joe's saying hockey's been around since the 1800s. Oh yeah, hockey's definitely been around since the 1800s. You imagine what hockey was like back then? You could do whatever the fuck you wanted on the ice. You didn't.
Guys, do you remember when I
had a joke
when I sent you that picture of how they played, how the goalies used to play in the 1930s?
Well, with no mask, and
they had they would play with the stick like a forward.
Right.
It was a goalie stick, but they used it like a forward. They didn't have it, like that.
The reason for it, you were not allowed to go down on your pads. That's the reason why. Imagine if that had still been a rule. The goalie isn't allowed to go down on his pads. That was the rule back then. Wow. It wasn't until they merged leagues together that they realized maybe we should change that rule and have the goalie go down on his pads, because it makes the game a little bit more exciting, because it's more challenging to score on the goalie. Like, yes, good idea. Let the goalie have a chance to stop the puck properly.
Yeah,
of course.
It was a little different in the game then either.
No. Also, the forward pass wasn't a thing. So you couldn't pass it forward. You could only pass side to side, like you could in rugby. Oh, and backwards. But you couldn't pass forward. Could you imagine if that was still a rule?
Yeah, so I'm assuming you're, talking like the game from like the 1800s and the super early game.
Yeah, that was the
So-
rules back then.
So you also got to think too, like these guys weren't wearing masks because they weren't able to get lift on the puck either. So they had the straight blades.
Right.
So that was all that stuff was keeping the puck on the ice. So you weren't getting much lift. You weren't seeing guys going bar down, backhand, anything like that. That wasn't until, oh God, I would say closer to the 70s, 80s is when you really started to see that transform.
Well, I would say that you didn't see curvature in the sticks until the 60s. And they tried to outlaw it, but players would break that rule all the time. They would have a commission come in and look at the sticks and say, "Oh, okay, these are straight, these are okay." And then the guys would just they would get the blowtorch and just bend them after they left. So,
Well,
I tell you what, I love having a
they
curve on
still
my
do
stick.
that.
It's the
They
best.
still do that now before the games. They get their sticks checked.
they do, but you are allowed to have the curve. They didn't allow any curve back then.
No, I know.
Yeah.
I mean, Ovi's curve is.
The Kings, unfortunately, who was it that got nailed for illegal stick against Montreal in the playoffs that one year?
I mean, Ovi's stick isn't a stock curve. Ovi curves his stick. Like there's no curvature that has the toe blade being closed off as much as it is how Ovi has it.
Right.
So,
But
I mean,
again,
he gets his stick pro stock now, so it's everything for him is to his specifications except for the blade. He'll sit there, he'll take the blowtorch to it, and he just cranks the toe. So
which
it's
makes
just-
sense because I mean he's a goal scorer. He's a primary goal scorer. It's like it makes sense. A lot of primary snipers and goal scorers, they're always doing that because they want to get the puck exactly the way they need to on the blade because that's their primary role is scoring. So that's what they did. Oh, by the way, Lemieux did tie. I'm sorry, Ovechkin tied Lemieux in overall goals in the playoffs, and he did that yesterday. So again, he's just just continue on trekking up as one of
And
the
by the
greatest
way,
players of all
he
time.
didn't score. He didn't score in his office either. He went in front of the net, which a lot of people forget that he scores a lot of goals in front of the net too. When he decides to park his big butt in front of the net, nobody can move him.
Hey, Heather. But you're right. You're right. Joe's saying George Brett. Well, yeah, he was a baseball player.
Greg Nettles took care of him.
And the only reason I even know that George Brett's a baseball player is because he played against the Phillies in 1980. That's the only reason I even know who the hell he is. That's the advantage of my mom being an obsessive Phillies fan.
I think Bruce Gossage knows who George Brett is, though.
I was going to say, I haven't heard her lately. I mean, not that the Phillies are giving people much to cheer about in the month of April, but the team is notoriously slow in April. So,
Give it time. Give it time. When the playoff race gets a lot hotter, you'll hear her a lot more.
Not even that. Like end of May, into June, when the weather starts to warm up, Phillies will take off
about
like
it
they
after
always do.
Memorial Day.
Yeah, I mean, basically, that's usually when the Phillies start to heat up. It's when a lot of teams start to heat up. You have a better idea of who you have on your team, what you need.
That's when the cream starts rising to the top and the trash starts settling to the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, as for what's going on right now in the playoffs, as we start to wind this down. So, gents, out of all the playoff matchups that we have here, what ones are you really liking, or which ones are you really looking forward to in terms of how deep you think they might go, or what you think would be a really cool playing of the series, or how it'll play out?
Well, I have.
Thanks, Heather.
I have my bracket right here, so I'm going to share it with you guys.
Oh, George Brett. Okay. So that's who. Okay, interesting. That's who it was. There was a hockey player named George Brett. Interesting.
So there was a couple that intrigued me. Maddie, I'm just going to remove that real quick just so everybody can get it.
Yeah, so everybody can see it. Yeah.
All right. So this is what I have going on here. And I don't know what just happened here. My view of you guys got taken away by this. All right, here we go. So the intriguing matchups for me have been The Devils and Hurricanes, because they always put on a good series, regardless of where they are as far as, injuries, anything like that. I also thought the Winnipeg St. Louis matchup was very intriguing because, St. Louis was red hot going into the playoffs. You had Winnipeg sitting at the top of the league basically all year. So you have a lot of questions. And is Connor Hellebuck going to be the guy who's going to step up for the offense? We've seen Kyle Connor kind of do that the last couple seasons. But who else is going to step up? And is Cole Perfetti going to finally turn into a player that they thought before all the injuries? This was going to be my opening series to really watch and pay attention to. But a lot of injuries on the Dallas defense that really hurt or is hurting them. They got a gutsy win the other night. Colorado's just going to get stronger as this continues to go, which is why I have them going as deep as I do. But, my most intriguing at the time when this was all starting to pan itself out and we were starting to really put pieces into place was Dallas and Colorado. It still kind of is because Dallas is going to start getting healthy. If Miro's back and they're still within, obviously they're still going to be within a game in the series, but this is going to be a long, hard-fought series here. I do, obviously, as you can see, think Colorado is going to win it, but that to me is the most intriguing. I love this series. I think it's going to be a dogfight from here on out. Dallas just has to get healthy, and they're not expecting Jason Robertson back until at least Game 5, which is going to hurt.
For the most part, looking at your bracket, I do agree. I think Winnipeg beats St. Louis. Dallas and Colorado, I'm not sure, man. I feel like that series is a coin toss.
I like Dallas, but again, that's.
I would rather pick Dallas, but Dallas has so many injuries right now, especially on the defensive side.
They do have injuries.
They're hurting.
They do, but I just can't believe Mackenzie Blackwood can actually win.
Well, Blackwood.
That's my problem with that.
Blackwood's not a terrible goalie. It's just that he's normally a tandem goalie.
That's not just that. He's had some bad defenses in front of him too, and now he finally has one of the best defenses in the NHL.
And we have to keep in mind too, Vegas won the Stanley Cup with a third-string goalie.
Yeah, and he's still their starter.
So there you go. That says everything you need to know right there. You don't always need to have the star goalie. As long as your defense holds in front, you should be okay. And then Vegas and Minnesota. I would say, Vegas I think wins. Nothing against Minnesota, but I think Vegas overpowers them. Nothing against Minnesota. They got that heart. They got that fire. They really do play with everything they got, but I don't know. Vegas is hard to beat. They are a hard out. Kings and Oilers. I would think the Kings have to beat them at some point. So you know what? Yeah, I would say, you know what? Let it be this year. At some point, the Kings are going to beat the Oilers. It's going to happen. They can't beat them all the time. So I would say yes. I would go with the Kings. Toronto and Ottawa, as much as I would love to point and laugh at Toronto in the first round, I do agree. I think Toronto does win this series. Tampa and Florida, I don't know. I really don't know. Florida, yes. Are they a team that's dangerous? They are. They have had their issues in the season, though, which I think did hurt them going into the playoffs this year. Tampa, I don't know. Tampa, it seems like they got something back. I'm not saying they're the exact same team because they're not. But I do say there is a little bit of fire back in them. They're not as they were looking like a shell of themselves the last few years. But it looks like they're starting to have some type of zeal back to them.
Well, I'm not saying back, and Getzel has been outstanding with them.
He has been.
But here's my problem with Tampa, and this is why I don't think Tampa's getting out of the first round. They don't have the depth.
That is the thing that
they're
they do
one,
not have.
maybe two lines offensively. They're still pretty sound defensively for the most part, but they don't have that wow factor for me. Florida still has that wow factor. They still have the depth. They're getting if not, they already have Matthew Tkachuk back. That to me makes him deeper. It makes that line with Marchand a lot grittier. He's the heart and soul of that team. There is absolutely no way in hell I think Tampa Bay wins this series.
I agree.
It could be.
I don't think anybody, to be honest with you, I don't think anybody's beaten Florida this year. It's just I feel like getting Brad Marchand on that team, that line is just they're so annoying, and they can so easily take a team off their game, even if it's just for one shift out of the whole game. They can do that because they really. You're talking about the most annoying players in the league, and they can also score. I don't see Florida losing. I don't see anybody beating them in a 7-game series, quite honestly.
Only team I can see doing that is going to be Washington. It's the only team I think that can match them.
Washington right now, I mean, them beating Montreal, yeah. Oh, Ottawa just scored and tied the game.
Some bitches. No, I'm just kidding. I actually do have Ottawa winning at least one game.
So
if Ottawa comes back and beats them in overtime, I think the Leaf fans might be. Oh my God, it's going to be impossible. I wouldn't want to be in any bars in Toronto.
Gaudette got the goal. It was a bad turnover in their own zone, which led to Ottawa getting the opportunity. Gaudette got a tip. Well, not a tip. It was a redirection. So, went right off the stick and went right over Stolarz.
Is it just me, or does the video look different?
It does.
The imaging look different? What did I do?
I don't know.
What did I touch?
Either way, though, people could see Brad now because the thing's not blocking him.
Thanks for radio, though.
But
I can fix that. Hold on.
By the way, I do agree that Carolina beats the Devils.
There we go.
So.
All right, back to normal. Nah, I'm just teasing.
Carolina in 5.
And Joe's saying Craig Brewery about to whoop some ass.
As long as it ain't mine.
He did call a timeout, so.
I'll say this, so that's awesome for him getting the opportunity for Toronto. I mean, this is a guy who's won a Stanley Cup. This is a guy who knows what it takes to get there, and he did it with a team that was not expected to be there.
Oh, wait a minute.
I think that's good.
They're reviewing something. Oh, was it offsides? They're checking to see if it was.
Oh, boy.
Uh-oh.
I can't see. I can hear it, but I can't see it.
Was he offside, Maddie?
It looked like he touched the blue line.
Oh, good.
They got a. By the way,
my
there's
TV is acting up again, so it only works for a certain time. I got a call.
Yeah, they're letting it go. It was onside. It did look like he touched the blue line. So yeah, it was onside. All right. So the scare for Ottawa fans, they can breathe a sigh of relief. It is 2-2 now. And Ottawa, by the way, has 24 shots to Toronto's 17 right now.
Morris, I see you in the chat. What's going on, my friend?
Hey, what's going on, Morris? So 4:45 left to go in the third period. 2-2 Ottawa and Toronto. This game might not be over yet. Might not. We'll have to wait and see. 4 minutes is still a good long
It'll
while.
be overtime.
Could possibly be. We got some yesterday. We had some free hockey yesterday.
All the pressure in the world is going to be on the Toronto Maple Leafs.
They're
going to be squeezing those sticks, baby.
By the way, Heather wants you to get out of her head, Bri.
Am I in her head or is she in my head? Because I had this done a little while ago.
I'm not sure. She says get out of my head. So,
I did it for work, so I don't know. I have a chance of winning a gift card for somewhere. I don't remember where.
Well, then there you go. I mean, hopefully it goes well for you.
We'll see.
Ottawa is pressing. They're trying to smell it. They want that go ahead.
We'll see. We'll see.
Ottawa has nothing to lose.
They don't. That's the other thing.
They're having fun, and Toronto's going to be squeezing those sticks and the little wood, the saw chips are going to be coming out of the sticks now.
I kind of feel like it's going to be the same in.
Heather's saying I'm probably in yours, to be honest.
Shocker.
It's probably
Actually, I think this is. Honestly, I don't know because you know what? I'll be honest. It's definitely a much more relaxed situation for Ottawa because I think they're playing with house money just like Montreal is. But I mean, being in Toronto, getting the home fans behind you, I don't think Toronto's going to feel any pressure yet.
We'll see. I mean,
Okay.
it'll be a
early.
1-1 series, so it wouldn't exactly be the end of the world
Toronto
if
is
Ottawa
proven-
won.
Right, exactly.
Toronto
That's
has
why the
proven
pressure's
that
not
they
on them
can-
yet.
They've proven they can win in Ottawa. That's for sure.
Now, if Ottawa won Game 3, that might be a little bit of, okay, now Ottawa took the lead in the series. Toronto has to win that game in Game 4
Ottawa
to
could
then
have
go back
Ottawa
to
is
a best of 3.
Ottawa could have home ice advantage if they figure out a way to win this game.
Yeah, Heather, don't flirt with me in front of your husband, even though I have no idea who that would be.
You all of a
In our
sudden
chat?
hear a knock on your front door.
I know she has a husband in real life. I don't know if she has a husband
In fantasy?
in here.
On the interwebs?
Yeah. It could be. I mean, who knows what's going on with these? I don't know what's going on with this group anymore. They're a little too bonkers for me since she came around.
Joe saying, Berube, Giroux, Stolars, how many Flyers are in this game? Lawton also.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, what was with Giroux and Lawton the other night? They looked like they were ready to drop the gloves.
They did it tonight.
Did they?
Yeah, they got into a scrum together.
I think, you know what it is? I think Lawton and Giroux just wanted to do it. Just because. You know, it's like, yep.
Frustration.
Yeah.
Could be.
I mean, come on. They played together in Philly. Yeah, so it's like, you know what? Yeah. Why not? Let's fight each other. That's just how it works in hockey, you know? It's like, hey, I haven't seen you in a while, buddy. Hey, you want to drop the gloves? Sure, let's go.
Like Lawton can fight. Giroux really can't fight though. And that is really a good matchup for Giroux. Can't Giroux find somebody a little smaller to go after?
I think it was just one of those where it's just like, hey, buddy, you want to go? I'm like, yeah, sure, man. Why not? I don't think
he picked him out. There was a scrum, and he picked him out. He went right for Lawton.
Wow.
What the hell does that mean, Priz?
Had to step away for a no minute.
No, that's Benny.
Oh, what is Priz saying? Oh, I'm saying put your what? What? What?
I don't even know what that means. Yeah, I know. I figured you were kidding, but I have no idea what that even means.
What the fuck are you talking about,
Priz, I'll sell this to you.
That's a nice one. That's a nice one right there. Young Macklin Celebrini card.
This is legit rookie card. I'll sell you that. $150.
Yeah, Lawton and Giroux look like they don't like each other. Man, if maybe that's the case from what you're saying. Because I didn't see the fight. So, I mean, at the end of the day, I would
cost way too much money.
But if it's a 10, you if it's a 10, you oh my god, you should definitely figure out a way to do it.
Depending on where I go to, the grading is they want 10% of what you sell it for or something, or what it's worth.
How much do they charge for grading these days?
Depends on the card.
Oh, they do it that way.
PSA held on to my boss's cards, and he had a couple of Connor Bedard's for 3 months before he even got him back.
Oh my!
And they charged him an arm and a leg.
So
they do quote PSA. I mean, I had a ball signed by Mantle, and I had PSA on it.
Florida is up 4-1, by the way, in their game.
eBay's where I get my value from, and then I sell it on that. But I do have a couple minted cards already. I have my Trevor Zegras mint 10.
There you go.
And then
if you buy them certified already,
8.5 Paul Correa.
That's pretty good.
And that's not a Ducks card either. That's
nope, that's his Team Canada card.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
Yep. When he wore 18, which was weird to see.
I still have a sealed factory set from '89 Score Football. It's never the air inside it is from 1989.
What's up, Bryce?
Bryce,
Saying
my man.
good playoffs so far. Yeah, I would say it's been interesting so far. No, no real shockers have happened yet.
Too early for that.
Yeah, too early for the shockers, but hey, maybe we're in for one right now with Ottawa.
Are you not reading this chat? I'm shocked by what is happening right now. I think Priz is trying to sell my body for me.
I mean, hey, listen, you're his top earner. You
So
gotta,
he-
you got. That's
so
what's
if
gotta
he is
happen.
I
pimping
am
that,
nobody's bottom bitch. I am the pimp.
oh, there you go. Here's the fur coat.
Although, listen, being the bottom bitch ain't bad. That's top tier. But I'm
Oh,
nobody's
what a save by Stolars! Whew. He absolutely just stole that. Damn. Cousins had a great chance, and Stolar said, "Fuck you, dude. You ain't scoring."
Brinks, that's fine that you don't trust him, but allow him to do his job now that he has the money. He's got money to spend now. He's finally through with the Chuck Fletcher bullcrap, and he's finally through with having his hands tied from even Ron Hextall. So this is an opportunity for him to really cement himself. Like, I understand, like I get it. Sam Hinkie couldn't trust him, but Danny Briere finally has the freedom to be able to build the team the way that he wants to. So now is going to be the time to tell if I can trust him or not.
Chris says, "Bri, I'd sell your body to Heather for a Taves Rookie Cup RPA."
Well, I mean, it is a rookie patch auto. That's going to be worth some money. I do have renewed young gun of Jonathan Taves coming in. Will that work?
Oh, wow. Toronto almost scored.
Will that work, Prez? Renewed young gun of Jonathan Taves? I'll wait. Type faster. As of
Bryce
right
said,
now,
how much money we have to spend?
as of right now, I saw 25 million free in cap space.
Ooh, that's a lot.
1.5K to be exact. Joe saying no one in A2D knows a lick about hockey other than the four of you on this show. So if Brinkman says that, Flyers are probably in good shape.
I mean, they're not in bad shape. I really believe that they're not in bad shape. They are in a pretty good position as far as having prospects, and how they ended the season was really, really good, despite some of the results. But the effort was there every night. So I'm with you. I don't think they're in bad shape. I never
tell you
did.
what, I
You just
don't
need
like
freedom.
goaltending at all right now. Somebody has to show me something.
So that is it for regulation. We are going to get some free hockey between Ottawa and Toronto. So the Battle of Ontario goes to overtime for the first time this year. So excitement building up for anyone who is not an Ottawa or Toronto fan. If you're a Toronto or Ottawa fan right now, you are absolutely anxious and panicking up a storm right now.
If you're a Toronto fan, you're getting sick to your stomach right now. You're saying it can't be happening again.
I do miss this. So, like, if Pat Verbeek gets his way for Anaheim next year, I'm excited for playoff hockey again. But I will definitely say this: it's nice to be on the outside looking in, but it's even better when you're in. I love the stress. I miss it. It's just so much more fun. It makes the playoffs so much more fun when you have a team in it.
It is, I will say.
It's great to have a dog in the fight. But you know what? I could root against the Devils. That's something that I can absolutely do. And I also
something that most of us can agree on.
I just want to make that clear. I hate Montreal. Understand, I'm old. Okay? When I started watching hockey back in the late 60s, early 70s, The damn Canadians were
That's
always
the
winning the Stanley
1860s.
Cup. Hmm?
That was the 1860s.
There you go. Well, then it would be the who was the I guess they were the Americans back. No, there was no Madison Square Garden back then. No, but
it was a rock.
The Canadians were always winning the Stanley Cup. They were always getting the best players because there was no draft. All the French Canadian players wanted to play in Montreal. So, and then we won the Stanley Cup all the time. Well, yeah, I win the Stanley Cup and then I get the first round, the best player in the draft signing with me. I mean,
Is it possible, Brad, that because of 1979, your hatred for Montreal is as big as it is?
72, 71, 69, 68,
all those years.
85, Patrick Roy's rookie year.
I mean, the Rangers weren't in the Stanley Cup final that year.
In 85?
In 85, no.
They were the semifinals.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And they destroyed them during the season, and then Montreal kicked their butts in the playoffs.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. That did happen, didn't it?
Yes, and I still to this day think the Rangers were better than them that year, but you got to beat them to prove it. So, and that didn't happen.
Well, look at it this way though. Imagine being a Calgary fan that year, watching your team finally beat Edmonton because they shot themselves in the foot, only to lose to the Montreal Canadiens that year in the Stanley Cup Finals. You had to have thought, if you were a Calgary fan, that you were never going to beat Edmonton ever again, and you were never going to win the Stanley Cup because that was your one shot.
They did win one.
They did, but I'm talking years later in 89.
Yeah, that's true.
Think about being a fan in 85 of Calgary and thinking like, oh my God, that was our one shot to beat Edmonton win the Stanley Cup, and we blew it and we lost to Montreal.
Yeah. But then we had the Steve Smith Memorial.
Yes.
That was funny, Joe. I saw that. I just saw that. I zoned that for a second.
Brad, what was Lord Stanley like in person?
Oh, he was a crazy old chap.
He was a nice man. He was a hairy man.
Yeah.
He shed it all over my cloth coat. And then I hit him with a cup. And that's how we came up with Lord Stanley's Cup.
Yes.
All right, so I think that'll do it for this edition of Flyers Talk A2D. We thank everybody for joining us here once again, and we hope that you guys will be back next week. The playoffs are just getting started. There's so much more left to be done here, so very exciting. Can't wait to see what we got coming for us next week. And also, on top of that, fun little question for you guys to think about. Who do we think wins the Stanley Cup first? Do we think it's Matthews or do we think it's McDavid? Neither one's won it. So
this is Lord Stanley right here.
My buddy.
Yeah, that is, Brad's best friend in the whole world back in the day.
Here's my childhood friend. I didn't know where he lived, but we knew each other. I didn't even live in Canada.
My dad grew up in Canada.
Well, there you go.
They were frat brothers.
He actually was from Calgary.
That's funny. Oh man, yeah, he was something in Canada. I barely.
He was the governor. He was the governor of Canada.
That's what it was.
He was the royal governor of Canada. He was also knighted by Queen Victoria.
Where the word came from.
Yes. So a very right. So he had a very prominent life, to say the least. I mean, think about how big being knighted was back then. That was a big deal back then. That man did things.
Right,
the Ottawa Senators. Do you know what their name was before they changed it to Senators back in the early 1900s?
They were
they were the Ottawa Millionaires.
That's not what I thought it was. I thought I knew the answer to that.
Yeah.
Well, And the reason why they were the Ottawa Millionaires is because they were making millions of dollars. That's
Yeah.
why. Because they had the best players in the entire world at that time on that team. No one
Yes,
could beat them.
until Montreal started raiding all the French Canadian players.
Right.
Oh my.
Yeah.
But anyway, we thank everybody for joining us for this edition of Flyers Talk A2D. Once again, brought to you by Specialized Physical Therapy. Any aches and pains, go to the doc, Dr. Paul Vidal. As we say all the time, like, subscribe, share, hit the bell icon so that way you get all the notifications about A2D. And we hope to see you guys next week right here on A2DRadio.com. Stay safe, stay healthy. Peace and love, everyone.
Go Avs.